Sometimes you play a game which really sits with you once you're done with it. Usually it's down to its narrative or its themes. But in the case of X, ever since I covered it, I've not been able to stop thinking about it. From how well it pushed the Game Boy hardware to how compulsive it was to sit down and play. It certainly meant that it's left its mark upon me. So when I was thinking about what game I wanted to cover next here on the show, I could only think of one modern game which seriously pushes the boundaries once again of another home platform that was really never thought to be able to handle good 3D graphics. That machine, of course, is the Commodore 64, and the game, Dr. Mortal Wombat's Gates of the Ancient, released in space year 2021. Gates of the Ancient has you taking up the role of a space trader who has just so stumbled across a mysterious device believed to have been created by the titular ancients. Having given into curiosity and activated it, you've now been whisked away to a distant, unknown sector in space. Your task now is to make your way home by navigating the network of gates and leaping from galaxy to galaxy, also while scavenging as much loot as possible, whilst surviving attacks from pirates and unknown hordes, whilst picking up as many artifacts as you can. On loading the game up, you've got a fairly simple title screen superimposed on the game HUD, with a description of what will be happening located in one of the instrumentation panels. All you can really do here is just hit that fire button and take to the stars. Once the initial jump sequence ends, you're tossed right into battle in order to get to grips with the combat system. The first thing you're going to want to do, at least if you've got experience with other space combat games, is to hit the pause button by pressing run stop and flipping the inverse Y-axis option. Otherwise, you're really going to get tripped up with how your craft flies. It's certainly what happened to me. But more importantly, you realise you'll need to do this every time you load the game up. You shouldn't be surprised to learn your ship is ill-equipped for combat at first, and so surviving this initial encounter may be kind of tough. But learning the tricks of how to outsmart their attacks is doable, especially once you get to grips with the challenges they offer. A challenge which comes less from intelligent moves and more a combination of numbers and stronger weapons and armaments, particularly as you progress further into your journey. Combat also leads you to the big hook behind Gates of the Ancient. Death is not the end. If you're defeated, it's not game over. Instead, you'll be taken back to the first galaxy and your craft is stripped back to its default configuration, though any artifacts you find are retained, along with all your credit balance. So yes, that means we have a roguelite. If you've never heard that term before, a roguelite game takes elements of the roguelike formula, that being procedurally generated maps, exploration is a main focus, but applies them to a game or genre which isn't the traditional dungeon crawling experience provided by Rogue, or games derived from it, your hacks, Angbands, Morias, et al. For Gates of the Ancient, this informs how the map is structured. It features an assortment of galaxies, each containing a number of sectors. Earlier galaxies have fewer sectors to explore, though things do get more complex as you move further in. Upon arriving in a new sector, you'll have a series of waypoints which need to be checked out. Not only are their positions randomized, but their contents are as well. The most common sight you'll have are gates. Most will take you to other sectors, while others lead you to new galaxies. Before you can use these, you'll need to find the lock and trigger it in order to open the said gate up. Other waypoints lead to hazards, minefields which you'll have to clear out, or staging points of ancient drones aiming to take you on. You'll also find space pirates hiding amongst the depths, striking as you travel between said waypoints. Taking any of them out may drop cargo on occasion. This is usually in the form of a few credits for your bank account, But also, you might find upgrades, or even artifacts. Other waypoints might also have treasure caches, which will lead you scrambling about collecting as many crates as possible before they drift out of range. A most important destination though are the trading outposts. These rare spots are the one place where you can spend the credits you've collected, allowing you to upgrade your ship's systems. There are 6 which can be upgraded. Generators produce energy which the other systems use. Shields provide protection from enemy damage, while lasers are used to engage enemies and activate the locks. Propulsion is responsible for in-system flight, and the hyperjump lets you skip some distance ahead at the cost of shield energy. Finally, your sensors detect waypoints, adding more to the search list within a sector. Each of these systems can be upgraded to one of 4 levels, starting from basic at the lowest, going through extended and professional all the way up to advanced. Each tier is obviously more expensive as well, meaning you're not likely to upgrade your ship to its maximum potential until late in the game. Which isn't really a problem for the most part, that's sort of a logical sense of progression, but it can mean that things in the early game might be a little tougher than perhaps I'd like. The combination of the basic laser and basic generator you start out with means engaging in combat, at least early on, results in lengthy engagements. That's a result of the weak damage these lasers offer, combined with a slow recharge rate from the generator. The basic propulsion system you start with as well impacts general flight around sectors. You're going to be spending a lot, and I mean a lot of time looking out at the stars, whilst you fly from waypoint to waypoint. In a way, I feel these sectors are probably a little more padded out than perhaps I would have liked. And all of this becomes a bit of a drag, especially after you've died once or twice, as while you keep your credits and artifacts when restarting after death, this doesn't apply to any ship upgrades you buy. And for me, that really takes a lot of fun out of the game when you die. Especially if you've been on a run which has lasted several hours of playtime. The thing is, had Gates of the Ancient come out when I was a kid, this pacing probably wouldn't have mattered much. I could have seen myself easily becoming engrossed with it and going back for another pass on afternoons where I had no chores, nothing else to get in the way of some pure gaming time. But now, as an early 40-something, I find it a bit harder to justify. It also highlights another feature I really wish I had, the ability to save a run in progress. But I guess that's what your trusty freezer or action replay cartridge is for. Or at least I hope. It is worth noting that at any time during play, you can bring up the pause screen and get a password which lets you start a new run with all the credits you've earned and those artifacts you've found. That's more than a fair substitute, but again, it means when starting a new game, you're starting from a place where your ship is woefully underpowered, and getting anywhere means a lengthy grind. Which is where Gates of the Ancient falls short. I love its core concept oh so much. I am a space sim fan after all, but the idea of needing to explore each sector, finding your path home, and getting equipment to help survive it really is a solid gameplay loop. But the decision to make it a roguelike experience, I feel harms the game significantly. I wish it played more like Elite or Space Rogue, games which offered that meaty experience, but one that a player can work through over a period of weeks, if not months. Instead here, I feel making genuine progress is just a really hard slog. Which is a shame, as Gates of the Ancient nails just about everything else. The 3D engine offers some impressively solid 3D visuals, and for the most part, runs at a pretty decent speed. The game's interface is simple and easy to use, making choosing waypoints and installing upgrades a breeze, even in the midst of combat. What's even more impressive is how it all fits into a single load, but that's the power of procedural content. At the end of the day, I'd say if you could spare the time to be able to run a session from the start and really commit to it, you could have a ball with Gates of the Ancient. For me though, I really wish it had a faster pace, or perhaps a proper way to save your progress during a run. I don't mind a slow burning experience, but I wish that as a game, Gates of the Ancient appreciated that the spare time of its players is a finite resource, and losing hours to a failed run may not be fun for everyone. If despite all that, your curiosity has been piqued, then I do recommend you go check it out for yourself. It's a pay what you want download from itch, and I'll have the link in the video description. And of course you can download it, run it on whatever you wish to use. As for me, well, it's time to draw this one to a close. As usual, I'd like to thank everyone for watching and their support, particularly those who are supporting the show over on Patreon. You can look for a card or in the video description for more details there. And with that, thank you all very much for watching.